I went to pick up a deal from a second-hand site called secondhand.be, which is the Belgian Craigslist. From a fellow collector, I bought two items. First, import adapter for the Nintendo 64. I'm not too happy with this import adapter because of the 4 imports I have. It only plays one. The other 3, namely Sin and Punishment, Kirby 64 and Mega Man 64, they'll proclaim not to work with this adapter. You actually, to be able to play all import games, you need a Passport 3 cartridge, and I have one, but they're so finicky, and now after a while mine just stopped working. So a particular model doesn't really work either, so I guess I'll have to find yet another Passport 3 cartridge. I should have just bought a second-hand N64 on my trip to Japan, but I was already carrying so much stuff, and the N64 isn't really my favorite system. The other game I got is Earth Defense Earth for the Sega Mega Drive or Sega Genesis. This is an unlicensed game, and it's actually not too bad. Most people say it's horrible, but I think it's quite alright. The box and manual and cartridge are all of decent build quality, and the cartridge has a different shape than your regular Sega cartridge. So check out my little review coming up. So this is my mini review for Earth Defense or Defense Earth by Realtek. It's one of the 97 unlicensed games released for the Sega Genesis or Sega Mega Drive, as it is known in the rest of the world. This game is a vertical scrolling shoot 'em up, and it's very similar to shareware games of that time, I think, especially for the Amiga, freeware shareware games. It doesn't look too bad. It almost looks like an 8-bit game with some souped up graphics. And personally, I don't think it plays really bad. There are some problems, however, with the game. Firstly, the hit detection is a bit off. Sometimes the bullets just graze by you and you still are killed. This is quite often with older shoot 'em ups, but around 1995 most shoot 'em ups wouldn't have this problem. Also, when you use your special attack or bomb, sometimes it doesn't hurt the enemies. During the special attack you're both invincible and kill enemies, but sometimes it just doesn't kill enemies. I don't know why or how this is triggered or whatever. Then the last problem, and is also obvious by this video, is that the sound is actually horrendous. The music is not that bad, but the actual shooting sound is really painful on the ears, and you can't turn it off. The first boss of this game is also amazing, it just stands still at the same spot. The best thing to do in this game is to really upgrade your weapons, and then you'll have a breeze. But when you die once and you have to upgrade your weapons again, it's a bit more difficult. All in all, for me personally, I paid 15 euros for this game, and I like shoot 'em ups. I want to collect them all for the Mega Drive, including the unlicensed ones. So for me, this isn't that bad of a game. There are of course much better shooters on the Mega Drive, some of the best from the time. But this, for a bootleg Chinese attempt, probably made by 1 or 2 guys in a very short space of time, it's actually not that bad. Sometimes there are periods of drought in the game that there are actually no enemies and you just fly around in it. And sometimes there's so many enemies that the game slows down to a crawl, and all of a sudden it goes faster again. So you don't really control this. You really notice it wasn't playtested that much. Here you see me using the special attack weapon, which is necessary to defeat the bosses and to get power-ups. If you can find this game cheap, please do pick it up, because it's a fun title and if you're a completist for the Mega Drive, you also need this game in your collection. This morning I went to a flea market a half an hour away. I was there at 8:30 while the flea market normally only starts at 10 o'clock. So I was there early and a lot of people were still setting up, and a lot of sharks were already digging through their stuff and trying to find the things they need. I didn't do that because I was really feeling kind of sad for those people. They were trying to set up their booth, and people were just rummaging through everything, also the stuff that they didn't want to sell. So I kept a low profile and checked out all the booths. Didn't find that many games. Actually, I didn't find any classic video game except the ones you see here in this picture. And all these 5 games I got through asking people if they didn't have any old video games. The first 2 I got were the Donkey Kong 2 and the soccer game you see on the top. I'm not going to talk about soccer game because that's just a Chinese piece of shit. I'm going to try and talk a little bit about the Donkey Kong 2. It's actually the first Game & Watch I ever owned. It was also bought at a flea market together with the other Game & Watch Tropical Fish. And I think I paid about 20 or 50 Belgian francs for it back in the day. This must have been around 1995. Today I paid €2 a piece here, so that's 80 Belgian francs. So the price hasn't inflated that much at flea markets for Game & Watches. But this one is in much nicer condition. It still has the battery cover and the tab for closing the Game & Watch. And also the graphics on the metal plate on top of the Game & Watch look absolutely minty. When I first bought it, it looked really scratched, but then I saw it still had its protective plastic over it. So when I took that off, it just looked brand new. So all in all, €4 for a Game & Watch and a nondescript Chinese video game is not a bad deal, I think. So after circling the flea market for 3 or 4 times, I decided to call it quits and go home. But I saw one last booth that I hadn't been to yet that I just set up, and I asked them if they had got any old video games. The guy said, well, I got some Game & Watches, but I'm not really certain if I want to get rid of them, because I want my children to play with them as well. So I asked the guy, well, can I see them at least? And he came out with a box that included Oil Panic, Parachute, and then another Game & Watch, Turtle Beach or Turtle Head, I don't remember, and Mario's Cement Factory, I think, and these 3 Tiger handhelds. So after talking with the guy for a while, he said that he didn't have any emotional feelings or nostalgic feelings toward these handhelds, but he knew that the Game & Watches were worth something, so he didn't want to let those go. But he allowed me to buy the Tiger handhelds. He asked €2 a piece. So first I bought Mouse Maze, and then I bought the other 2 sports games for €1.50 a piece. This Mouse Maze is actually a pretty fun game. It's a random maze, and you have to eat cheese to break through the walls and avoid the cat. Really simple, but it's actually done nicely for a Tiger handheld. I never owned a Tiger handheld as a kid, but I always played on them from other kids, friends on the bus. They would show them to you and you could play them. So I have some fond memories of these Tiger handhelds. I'm not the biggest sports fan. Because I have fond memories of these, I decided to pick them up anyways. You have soccer here, which I'm sure is a really great game, but I couldn't care less, so I'll probably never really play it. And then you have miniature golf, which I don't understand anything about how to play it, so I will have to look it up before I can even get some game time in there. So then I left the flea market, and about half an hour later I got a message on my phone. I had exchanged numbers with the seller because he said, well, if I want to get rid of these Game & Watches as well, I'll contact you. And he said he found the manuals for the Tiger handhelds, and also some manuals for some Game & Watches that he didn't have anymore. So as you can see here, he had the soccer manual, the mouse maze and manual, Donkey Kong Jr. and the Zelda manual. Now I'm really glad also with the Zelda manual because I already have the Game & Watch. So now I only need to find the box to make it complete. Keep on dreaming, I guess. So all in all, not a bad day. Not really the type of video games I normally look for, but for €9 I got 5 LCD handhelds, and that makes me a happy man. Well, that's it for this episode. See you next week, or maybe the week thereafter.